Hi, I'm Nick Castle. I'm a member of LEAP and I was a serving police officer and I was medically retired in about 2006 after being assaulted on duty. Um, I'm here today to just talk about how I went from fighting the war on drugs to acknowledging that it's a failure and that we need a change in legislation, that we need to regulate drugs rather than be punitive and criminalise people. As an undercover officer and also dealing with informants and dealing with drug users, you end up talking to them and you build relationships with them to the point where they open up to you and you hear their backstory as to how they've ended up living on the streets, how they've ended up taking drugs, and for some people they may be self-medicating because of abuse, whether it was physical or sexual. Some people, just life in general meant that they couldn't cope. Mental health. Some people I know who started off just hurting the back or the knee and they've been given medication by the doctor and they've ended up on heroin, street heroin. They all have their own story. I loved what I did. I loved locking people up. I loved knowing that a job had been successful. But I started seeing another side, and although what I was doing was legal and I was fulfilling the policies the constabulary and the government put forward, what I was doing, I believe, is morally wrong. I would go out and my job was to go and buy drugs from individuals, and so I'd go out and become friends with other drug users. Very often than not, they wouldn't introduce you initially to their user, to their dealer. They would go and get the drugs and fetch them back, and then they'd take half the drugs and I'd take the other half. They basically got half of it just for going and getting the drugs for us. Thinking they were doing the mate a favour. You know, he just told me his life story and, you know, I was his new best mate. The problem being, this might happen 2 or 3 times, and when it comes to the end of these big drug jobs, they cost a lot of money, and they want the most dramatic headlines they can get. If they can lock someone up, they're going to. And so this person who was doing their new mate a favour gets arrested for supplying heroin or supplying cocaine or whatever. They could end up serving 4 to 5 years or being sentenced to 4 to 5 years. Yet this person didn't need criminalising. They needed some help and support. They needed a way forward. They didn't want pushing down into the gutter, they needed lifting up. But the war on drugs is all about smoke and mirrors. It's all about what they can put in newspapers. It's all about the message they can do to say, we're winning. It's a success. But I can honestly say, I've never known an area where drug dealers have been arrested and they've stopped the supply of drugs. On most occasions, I would say within hours, there was someone back selling drugs after someone had been arrested. It was just never ending train. It was just going on and on.